Thank you, Praveen, for inviting me. I'm very sorry that we are talking about logistic here, but if everybody uses GPS, we'll be in a better place because I don't know, it showed me 1 hour and took 2 hours to come here. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to talk a little bit different from the others, what they said. And since sustainability, net zero, green hydrogen, decarbonization, these are the words, buzzwords which are being used. So we have to look at, so one of the things these days people talk about the technological innovation in every sector, whether it is AI, ML and whatnot. How do you make use of these techniques in your business? And of course, the so-called green management. So I'm going to give you some important information that, the carbon dioxide concentration in the atmosphere is growing every day. Before the pandemic, it was 410 ppm in January of that year. We had practically no economic activity, but still we added 2 ppm in the year. And now it is 424. And what is feared that was, the report on 17th of May this year, that we are going to breach that 1.5 degrees Celsius temperature rise by 2027. That means we will be having a disastrous future if we don't take action on everything, okay? This is the slide that tells us. And if there is no technological intervention, the world will end in 2200. You don't have to worry, none of us will be alive, but future will be bleak for this planet. Another important thing is that in 2020, the world's refining capacity was 97.4 million barrels a day. It is about 100 millions now. And you also know that it went down to 85 million barrels. And on 10th of April 2020, the crude oil was negative. And they said that if this cost does not go to $60, the industry is not viable. Now you're talking about sustainability of everything and the business. So let me give you some other statistics. So the net zero goals, only 73% of the countries have it. 27 countries have no goal, net zero goal. We are in that 29% countries. US has 12%, China is 25%, but remember, we are 1.42 billion people now. And if we don't take step and develop our own technology, our future will be bleak. Nobody is going to give us technology. So, every time we talk about this ESG, we are saying carbon footprint, carbon credit. These are the words which we are being used by all industries. And in the company's annual report, you have to give the sustainability report as well. And I know it jolly well because I sit on the boards of 6 companies. And so how do you, prioritize these ESG goals into the so-called, value to chain model, okay? How do you do that? Mr. Nair, he gave a very interesting thing. He had a disclaimer in the beginning, but he provided data of Reliance. I don't know whether it was company data or his personal data. So the value chain, right? Look at the decarbonization sector. People normally believe that decarbonization means transport. No, the housing industry consumes 35% of the energy. And in the cold countries, it is a lot. So how do we decarbonize? It is not just the industry, the fertilizer industry and agriculture and name it, okay? Everything is very important. One of the things people normally don't talk is, though the shipping industry contributes about 5% of the carbon dioxide emissions. So what are you going to do with shipping industry and what sort of models or fuels you should use in the shipping industry? That is what I will tell you also. So this number varies. that the shipping industry should change from the current model. And you know that, of course, you said about the truck movement. It is the American or North American standard is 1,000 miles a day. We don't have that. That means we are losing a lot of efficiency and we are producing more carbon dioxide, okay? And the trucks, normally you say they're oozing out the carbon particles in this. So we have a lot of things to do in this country. So there are many ways, to avoid this, rather to encourage the decarbonization in this shipping emissions. How much load you can take, whether you should have empty, ships coming back. So the logistic is very, very important, and this is where you will have AI playing a lot of role. Because that has to be, like in real time, you can see where the ships are and what are they carrying, is it hazardous, non-hazardous. That kind of thing is required in this particular industry. And of course, you also mentioned something like alternate fuels. So what are these alternate fuels? One of the things which we need to understand is that carbon dioxide is not to be taken as a liability, but as a resource. That is, we can convert carbon dioxide into a variety of chemicals and materials. Another thing which people normally say, last year we emitted 36.4 gigatons of carbon dioxide into the atmosphere. And to have this net zero goal, we have to bring it down to 10 gigatons, less than that. 10 gigatons is 10 billion tons. So that means carbon should not be used as a fuel in any sector. That is the message. Now we are doing this, and it is believed that by 2050 we want to bring this down. Most of the advanced nations are saying 2050, but China says 2060 and India says 2070. So are we not confident about science and technology and industry that we can bring it down? My personal belief is that yes, we can do it now. Since I've been working in this green hydrogen area for a number of years now, we have developed technology. I've been claiming that I can produce hydrogen in less than $1. Now, how many of you will believe it? Because most of the world is talking about electrolyzers. I'm talking about thermochemical processes. And I'm supported by ONGC, Energy Center, for the last 15 years. We have been doing this. So we have developed technology for converting carbon dioxide to methane, to SNG, to dimethyl ether, okay, and also methanol. So this is, and of course you have to have hydrogen for that, and let it be green hydrogen. One of the things which our government did about 15 days back, they changed the definition of green hydrogen. Perhaps you know that. They says 2 kilograms of carbon dioxide per kilogram of hydrogen, when green hydrogen means the source should not be carbon. It has to be non-carbon. It is only water. That is the gold standard. I don't know why the government did it, but maybe there are political reasons, but that is not the way science is developed. Science must have the strict norms, then only we can talk about it. So these alternate fuels based on this. So in net zero, what you have no carbon dioxide coming. I'm saying negative. Carbon negative processes are required. Carbon is required for us, for our life. Carbon is required in the soil to be fixed, but carbon should not be in the air. Okay, that is net zero. So we talk about that. I already told you about shipping industry. So you can see this, the shipping industry decarbonization is one of the important areas. So what will you use there? Green hydrogen, yes. If you convert carbon dioxide into methanol, yes. You can use dimethyl ether. Unfortunately, dimethyl ether is a very good substitute for LPG and diesel. But we don't have a policy yet. Can you believe it? We are talking about all this green mission, everything. I must have written to the government many times, we must have a policy on this. In 1995, around that time, one of the companies, I will not name the company, they proposed to have dimethyl ether Of course, methanol and dimethyl ether, they wanted dehydration of methanol to dimethyl ether, but that proposal was dumped by the IAS officer. It is sad. He said it is not viable, and everybody is now talking about dimethyl ether. So I have developed this technology for dimethyl ether with Godavari biorefineries. We are going to commercialize it. But this is what happens. If the secretaries don't understand, they should at least listen to wise people, scientists, and the policymakers must listen to the science. And so, yes, we can have zero carbon, shipping industry, which is one of the very big industries, as you said, that very important sector. Another thing is that we will be using ammonia, green ammonia as a fuel. Green ammonia is what? You coax nitrogen out of air by pressure swing adsorption, for instance. There are other technologies also. And you take hydrogen from water. And that, once you do that, you make green ammonia. And green ammonia can substitute hydrogen in all aspects. Whether it is IC engine, or it is boilers, it is fuel cell, ammonia can do that. And ammonia can be stored at 10 atmospheres, whereas hydrogen has to be stored at 300 to 700 atmospheres. So in that regard, and so most of these countries like Germany and Nordic countries, they are giving a lot of emphasis on green hydrogen. In fact, we have a government task force. I'm a member of that. So German and India task force. Germany wants India to export green hydrogen. And they want 10 million tons of green hydrogen by 2030. India's target is 5 million tons. And in the one of the most important sectors will be refineries. Today, refineries use something like 30 million tons of hydrogen across the world. So their green hydrogen will reduce that. Because what refineries do in their 8 processes, they use hydrogen, but that is made by steam reforming of methane, which produces 11 tons of carbon dioxide per ton of hydrogen, so you are polluting a lot. So that sector can be taken care of green hydrogen. Similarly, in the steel industry, 1 ton of steel produces 2.38 tons of carbon dioxide, so their green hydrogen can be used. And of course, green ammonia, urea, and whatnot. So fertilizer sector can also be, made pollution-free. So we have to do a lot of things. In fact, by 2050, the world as a whole, this is according to McKinsey report, will require 539 million tons of hydrogen. Somewhere it says, 570 million tons. And the proportion between the blue hydrogen and green hydrogen means what? You can use any carbon source, but then 90% of the carbon dioxide has to be sequestered. Either you absorb it or convert that into something else, like acid carbon dioxide can be converted into chemicals, fuels, and materials, polymers. So that is another area where this sector will be influenced. So we have to look at this safety of hydrogen transport, okay? Methanol, dimethyl ether. Luckily, this pipeline can be used for dimethyl ether, okay, the LPG pipeline. So no matter how you produce hydrogen, store it, transport it, you have to look at that sector and use, modern technology. And why hydrogen? Because hydrogen has the maximum specific energy per unit mass in comparison with the ubiquitous wood or any other thing. So hydrogen is, so another thing people talk about hydrogen safety. Hydrogen is not deuterium, it is not an hydrogen bomb. Hydrogen is 14 times lighter than air, so it goes up in the atmosphere, but now we have got better sensors, so you can sense much easier, okay? And tests have shown that with hydrogen, it is much safer than petrol and diesel. So that is the beauty of this hydrogen. So hydrogen is going to be a very important. So hydrogen fuel container, this is already there in the market. People are doing it, okay? So obviously, in Europe, they are playing with all sorts of fuels, including hydrogen, DME, methanol, and whatnot, okay? And of course, SNG. And so the other thing you mentioned a little bit, Mr. Nair, that scope 1 and scope 2, Scope 3 is very, very important, and all industries, whosoever is manufacturing, must pay attention to scope 3. That is important, okay? So scope 3 emissions is important, and there are many ways of measuring the scope 3, identifying the means, and so you can see that. So for that, again, AI will help us, because that responsibility is on the producer. Like polluter pays. So scope 3 will be important thing in future, okay? Then we can talk about net zero. So there are many things. I won't go into the details of that. There is another standard which is ISO 14064. This is for reporting GHG, greenhouse gas emissions. And part 3 establishes for verifying the GHG of that, okay? So anyway, ladies and gentlemen, there are measures and means. Somebody asked this question some time back. How do you measure these emissions? So everybody has his own formula to do it. But yes, so to conclude, it is possible to reduce the carbon footprint of our business, improve the efficiency, but everybody must be wedded to that cause. It is not only few of you do it and somebody else doesn't do it. So earlier when pollution occurred in industry, where there was a ulterior motive to make money, more money. So I developed this course on green chemistry and engineering and ICT several years ago. So I used to say this jokingly. The Shedji is not interested in your technology. Whether you call it green, black, blue, he's interested in his green currency, the dollar. More he gets it, he's happy. So the role of the scientist is to see that he develops a technology, and that technology is pollution-free, efficient, and you talked about BS6, okay, right? So everywhere where the sulfur concentration should go down, NOx should go down, so then only we'll have peace and prosperity. Thank you very much.